I am not aware of who Khan is. He's, according to some of the people in chat, one of the best top laners. Not necessarily the best top laner, but this documentary is titled The Player That Saved League of Legends for a reason, right? I don't necessarily know if there was a period of time where League needed saving, as far as I'm aware, which is next to zero, because I've never followed League esports until like the past 3 months or so. Regardless of how the player base feels about League, it's a PvP game. You're gonna get sick of it at some point, and you're gonna realize that there's a lot of games out there that you want to play. Some people never realize that. The same goes with Dota. Some people are just beyond addicted to it, and you can't really escape the addiction. You queue up, you lose, you win, you still queue up regardless. So let's see why Khan saved League of Legends. Let's get into it.
It's grand finals at the League of Legends World Championship in Iceland. Two teams.
Oh yeah, shout out to Jibe. He makes a hell of a lot of good documentaries about League. And we watched the Faker Death series. We are going to be watching the KT Roaster series. And if there's any other relevant Jibe documentaries that you want me to check out, please let me know.
One representing China, the other South Korea, are facing off in a heated series to determine who wins this year's title. And they're neck and neck. Although each team rosters 5 players, each playing their heart out for this championship, everyone watching can't help but root for one.
The stakes cannot be higher. This is the beginning of the end for Khan's last dance.
Khan is about to play his last ever game of professional League of Legends, and he has one final chance to win a world championship. People like Khan are difficult to find in the world of sport. Hell, they're difficult to find in everyday life, which is why it would be so cathartic for the League community to see one of its most beloved pros end his career in the best way possible. But Khan's career was so poetic, there was only one way it was ever going to end.
That does not sound good. I don't know how it ends, so this is a brand new story for me because I don't even know what role Khan was playing. I wish you happiness, the story of Khan.
Before we talk about Khan, we first have to talk about the game he conquered. League of Legends is something people have strong feelings about.
Oh my god, dude. And then I'm pinging them back.
In 1998,
you know, I think being somewhat poor, I am never gonna be in a situation where I do these things because I cannot afford buying new gear. Y'all don't have to worry about me raging like that. I'm gonna complain a lot, which is the general case whenever you're playing games like this. I'm not gonna punch my monitor. I'm not gonna smack my keyboard. I just don't get that angry, I guess. I get frustrated, but never angry.
On the island of Guam, created a custom StarCraft map that he then shared on the internet. This kicked off a series of events that 10 years later resulted in the release of League of Legends, a game that could be incredible.
Do we want to go into history of how League was made? Y'all already know how League was made. I've already mentioned this multiple times.
And incredibly frustrating. What made League so intriguing was that on the one hand, it was a game all about tactics. There was so much depth and strategy, it almost immediately became a great competitive sport.
Baby
but
reckless.
On the other hand, League was also viscerally fun. Even more casual players could pick up the game and enjoy it because this game gave you something no other competitive experience did: complete freedom of choice. League might seem simple at first, as playing a match just involves 5 players loading into a game and picking characters that are meant to fight on a battlefield to accomplish a simple goal. But over the course of a game, a player has to make millions of little choices in how they play with no right or wrong answers. What role do you choose? What champion do you pick? How do you build them with the hundreds of items available to you, and how aggressively or passively do you approach the game in general?
I don't see how this is the only game that offers this when there's like a bunch of MOBAs out. It's not even necessarily just Dota. There's Han as well. There's I don't know if Smite is popular, but Smite as well, I guess. Heroes of the Storm came later, but like these are all games that offer the same kind of experience. Yes, League is a lot more casual friendly. It is a game where you can just load in and kind of just have fun. You don't have to understand a lot of core mechanics of the game to realize to just play. Right? If you're playing Dota for the first time ever, you're trying to learn. There's a lot of freaking micro management stuff that if you're not aware of, people are just gonna think you're griefing. You need to know creep aggro, you need to know how to pull creeps, you need to know objective timings, you need to know what runes are gonna be spawning or where runes are gonna be spawning, you need to know how to ward. Just so many things like that, whereas in League, the main focus is primarily laning phase. I'm making it sound a lot easier than it actually is. After playing Dota for 15 years, hopping over to League, it is not easy. A lot of people, a lot of Dota people specifically, watch my freaking Slacks versus T1 debate video. A lot of people seem to think that Dota is like superior because it's the more hardcore game. If you play League, you are a casual gamer. You are not a real gamer. Fuck that belief. These people have not played it. These people are just speaking out of their ass. League is laning phase and team fights around objectives. Yeah, generally speaking, yes. League is, if you're owning the lanes, it's hard for your enemies to come back unless junglers are doing a good job roaming or mid helps out. But generally in Dota, there is a lot more ways for you to recover if you're having a bad game.
You get to answer these questions however you want. Part of the fun of League is how there's no wrong way to play the game. Creating a weird personal strategy that you find uniquely fun and building an online identity through that personal expression is incredibly freeing. But this freedom is also what makes the game so frustrating. Because League of Legends is a team game and everyone is free to play how they want, it's entirely probable players on a team will disagree about how each other is playing the game.
Sorry. Fuck you, motherfucking you noob. I die and I make ulti and fear and you put kill. I report you, fucker.
League is quite infamous for how frustrating it can be playing with teammates who lose their minds, ruining your games with poor attitudes or poor gameplay. The huge number of players and roles in-game just present loads of uncertainty and opportunity for things to go wrong. But even so, all those players and roles also give the game its incredible strategic depth. There's so much to learn about the game, you could spend your entire life studying it while never truly mastering everything. Yeah. League has so much creative complexity, it's essentially unsolvable, or at least that's what we thought until 2013.
This could be a 20-minute game for SK Telecom. They will be the Season 3 World Champions.
At the end of Season 3, the region of South Korea, led by SK Telecom, debuted a strategy to the competitive world that was genius.
Still can't believe this is Faker.
It was just 4 words: minimize activity, maximize precision. The idea was, League is a game that naturally has a lot of chaos during all the phases of a match. From early game laning, to fighting opponents, to taking major objectives, all of these instances present opportunities where something can go wrong, and making any major mistake during one moment could be enough to lose you a game. So Korean teams figured out the best way to play the game was by minimizing the overall amount of activity. If you don't bother engaging 50-50 fights that you might lose, and instead replace that with only going for plays that you know ahead of time you'll win, you'll eliminate a lot of uncertainty from a match.
Yeah, that's like the general perception of it, but at the same time, that's completely different from what I've seen of Korean servers right now. It was back then. I guess back then, people were a lot more calculated, but nowadays, from what I've seen, Reckless, Alois NL grinding in Korea, Double Lift for a period of time, Cadrol for a period of time when MSI was coming up. The experience that I've seen so far is that every single one of them have been beyond frustrated. It's so chaotic compared to a lot of other servers where I think it's a lot more calculated. I don't necessarily know why, but the playstyle is just so different. In my mind, I'm thinking maybe it's because the general population of Koreans who play this game tend to just think that because our server is the best, we have the best teams, we have the best players, we just need to go, we just need to fight. And then there's people who tell me that because a lot of people are playing from PC bangs and they don't necessarily have a lot of time, so it's just like they just want to go action, action, action non-stop. Let me know what you guys think about this. In Southeast Asia, from what I've seen, it's just bad internet over and over again. Even I've DC'd once.
The plays you do end up making, you also need really high precision to make sure your team fights go off without a hitch. But if you're good enough to play near flawlessly, this puts loads of pressure on your opponents, as they're always just one mistake away from you swinging the game into your favor.
Rotate,
and
save
this is the difference as well.
gets completely caught.
And there's the tidal wave. They want more. They get the knock up on the Lush Boy, but they're going to try to take out Daydream. Watch comes in. There's another nice Aqua Prison. Oh, good play, but it's not quite enough. And Lush Boy
there's a lot of skill shots.
Can he flash over the wall? He will, but there's a gold card.
I don't want to say a lot. I think it is mostly skill shots for League.
What was genius about this playstyle was there wasn't really any way
There's barely any targeted spells.
If anyone ever tried to speed up tempo against a Korean team with an early aggressive move, having such
most of these that you're seeing is all skill shots.
Escape danger easily while also probably turning around to get some sort of kill themselves afterward. If you tried playing along with Korean tempo, though, it was only a matter of time until they outmaneuvered you, catching you out with a missed position and punishing it with flawless execution. These skirmishes might only give them a small lead at first, but Korean squads always knew how to snowball that into an insurmountable advantage. This style of play swept over the competitive scene, winning all sorts of tournaments, to a point where it didn't take long for the rest of the world to copy it and try using it themselves. Soon everyone was emulating this low-activity, high-precision playstyle to a point where it almost got kind of boring. Korea proved their strategy was best by winning the League's World Championship back to back to back to back. But at those Worlds, we saw the average kills per player each game drop year over year over year over year.
So this is the general perception I think a lot of Dota players have when it comes to Pro League. I guess the average length of a game is between like 20 to 30 minutes or so. And even when it comes to pro games, 20 to 30 minutes, you're barely seeing any kills. Even to this day, a lot of Dota players think that this is the case. Not really, not anymore. It's a lot more high octane nowadays, I feel. Like even back then I thought like this. It feels so passive whenever you're watching a Pro League game. And back then I did try to watch like a couple of games to maybe see if I was interested in playing the game. Pro games didn't really interest me compared to Dota. Dota was like so strategic, but it also had so much chaos. Whereas League just feels like if you win one single team fight, game is over. Like you look at the average kills, that's just how it goes.
Everyone had started copying the Korean playstyle, but that just meant everyone was playing with much lower activity, so matches were having way less action. Even though every region was playing this way, nobody could do it better than Korea, who continued to dominate the international competitive scene. Maybe League could be solved after all. This region might have just found the end of the meta.
No. So I'm guessing Khan is a super chaotic
Kim was born
player.
And raised on Jeju, a small island just south of the Korean peninsula. Sometimes called South Korea's Hawaii, Jeju is also nicknamed the Island of Three Lacks and Three Abundances. This moniker comes from the thought that the province supposedly lacks all thieves, beggars, and gates, while being overly abundant in generosity, nature, and fruit. Fruit might seem like an odd thing to single.
Jeju orange, if you guys have never had it, probably one of the best oranges in the world. They also have, because you know Koreans are known for K-barbecue, right? The Korean barbecue. And they also have Jeju black pork, which is muy magnifique.
Wow, but it's actually what Jeju is most known for internationally, as the island is famous for a unique species of orange called the hallabong. This special variety of tangerine is famously sweet and sour and is shipped all over the world. So when Kim first started playing online games as a kid, wanting to represent his hometown, he gave himself the username Hallabong. He first ran into League of Legends in 2012, after some friends from school convinced him to play. They taught him the basics, and before long, he was addicted just like the rest of us. He found a particular affinity for playing the AD carry role bot lane, with one of his favorite champions from the start being Graves. As much as he liked the role though, there was one issue he had with it. One day, while playing a game with friends, Hallabong was playing Graves bot lane and couldn't stop dying with him. He was playing with this proactive style that led him to continuously tower diving, always going for kills on enemy laners no matter how dangerous a play might be. After racking up an impressive death count and costing his team the game, one of his friends remarked in the post-game lobby, "If you're going to play that aggressive, you should play top lane." Top lane was a role uniquely suited for Han Lebong. While most lanes in a match of League are pretty straightforward in what a player is meant to provide the team, either being a carry dealing damage or some sort of...
Honestly, dude, if I were to start over my League of Legends esports watching like documentary journey, I think this would be like the perfect one to start with because he's pretty much explaining the core concept of the game, right? Also, 80 carry, physical carry, not so much anymore.
Tank or support providing
Fucking
utility,
mage's
top
butt.
lane is a bit of a wild card. The role is isolated from the rest of the team, meaning top laners are kind of free to do whatever they want. If Han Lebong insisted on being an over-aggressive carry player, top was the one role where he could do exactly that. Now, normally a lot of League players don't like playing top because the role doesn't have that much impact on matches. It's not uncommon for everyone else on a team to all but decide a game while the top laners are off dueling on their own. If Han Lebong plays top lane, he won't exactly be deciding the outcomes of matches with his gameplay anymore. Additionally, top lane is a role that has a lot that can go wrong in it. The isolated nature of the lane means if you ever do get set behind, you can't expect a teammate to come help you out of a jam. The enemy top laner will likely just keep snowballing the lead against you for the rest of the match 1 versus 1, which is why many top laners compare the role to being on an island. But Han Lebong was used to being on islands. After his Ref Graves game, Han Lebong took his friend's advice seriously and immediately made the switch to top. The instant he did, League became a million times more fun. Now, he was free to pick some of the most aggressive champions in-game, as well as being free to play them however aggressively he wanted. He began playing the role so much that he was starting to get pretty good with it, soon rocketing up the Korean solo queue ladder until the start of Season 4, when he had reached the pinnacle playing against some of Korea's best pros. Although Han Lebong's playstyle was enough to carry him this far, this was the moment his aggression kind of started to hurt him. Korea, of course, was in the midst of perfecting their min-activity, max-precision playstyle during this period of time, which was perfect for exploiting overactive players. Going so aggressive for kills in lane leaves you open to counterattacks, and the talented precise pros of Korea were more than happy enough to exploit this kid who refused to conform to the meta. At this point, Han Lebong probably should have adjusted his style if he wanted to have a bit more success against Korea's top pros, but he didn't. In fact, at the start of Season 4, Han Lebong joined a semi-pro team and competed on stage.
Prime Optimus
joined a semi-pro team and competed on stage, still with this aggressive style that just got him into more trouble.
Achani gets pushed back. Han Lebong doing some damage. Cacao comes in. Han Lebong in trouble now. Ninja can't really do anything in this fight. Han Lebong solo. Sunday comes in. They managed to get the kill onto Renekton.
It was as if his break line was cut. He was playing so proactive and over-aggressive in every decision he made, it was as if he wasn't on the same page with his teammates at all.
He has to flash. Wild Girl for teleport live. Yeah, they're in a little bit of trouble here.
That's not a good board.
I can't see.
Where you want to be. So they're going to give some kills back over. Prime in trouble now. Arrow grabs that one. And this game remains close.
Wow, that teleport, man, it should have been canceled.
This was really weird to see. Han Lebong was talented enough he probably could have made it in the Korean pro scene if he just conformed to the meta. If he minimized his activity and stopped being so aggressive, top teams would be happy to take him on and make him the next big star. But for whatever reason, Han Lebong refused to play the game that way. He probably just thought it wasn't fun. He liked when League was chaotic and when he had the freedom to be as aggressive as he wanted, so he was going to play that way no matter the cost. At the end of 2014, Han Lebong's semi-pro team failed to qualify for the LCK, leaving him teamless without many options for where he could go next. No other teams in Korea were willing to sign such a hyper-aggressive and mistake-prone top laner, so he was considering retiring and going back to Jeju to study. But before he did, an old friend approached him with an offer. One of his former teammates had just been given an opportunity to go off to China and join an academy team with the condition that he brought a top laner along with him. After a series of discussions together, his friend eventually convinced Han Lebong to join, and the two were headed off to the LDL. Since Kim was moving away from home, he wanted to re-emphasize his connection to his hometown, changing his username to Korean Han Lebong. But that name broke the League of Legends character limit, so he shortened it to Khan.
Some players really have good origin stories for their names. Meanwhile, other people are just like, oh, I just took the first letters of my real name. I used my old MapleStory name. A MapleStory name too long, so I shortened it a little bit.
Khan took to the Chinese scene like a fish to water. The aggressive region was happy to make use of his specialized skill set, and he was happy getting to play carry top laners. The slower pace of the Academy League also made it easier for Khan to begin ironing out some of his mistakes in his gameplay. Soon he was performing as one of the best top laners in the region, but unfortunately this was also the moment that Khan was reminded of one of the most frustrating things about League of Legends. Sometimes you play well, but you can't carry a bad team. Khan spent nearly 3 years in total developing in the Chinese Academy League, and although he was performing like a star by the end of it, he would never win a single competition. Looking at his tournament history, it's almost depressing.
This already during the Korean exodus? Like a lot of streaming websites from China are signing Korean players to come over to their region. I don't know if it's already happened, I guess. I still don't know how the language barrier works though. Koreans don't learn Chinese, as far as I know. Some people have told me that some Koreans might pick up Chinese, but most of them don't. It's not a mandatory subject you learn in school. I'm surprised there's not a lot more Southeast Asian players going to China. Like in Dota, Malaysians and Singaporeans, we speak Chinese, and we're able to communicate in Chinese pretty easily. For Dota, a lot of us from Southeast Asia actually do head on over to China, or for those of us who can speak English, we'll head on over to Western teams. I just see a lot of Koreans being exported to different regions in League of Legends. You have like Koreans in EU teams, you have Koreans in Southeast Asian teams, you have Koreans in China, you have Koreans in NA. So Koreans are freaking everywhere in League of Legends.
As his 4-year career as a pro hadn't ever yielded a single first place trophy. Sometimes he was actually just getting stuck with bad teammates and couldn't do much about it, like in the 2016 Spring Split. Although he did get to play with a future pro Korean jungler in Clid, every other player on his team was a perennial amateur journeyman. Some of them were just months away from retiring without ever playing significant time in a top pro league. Not to be rude to these guys or anything, being a league pro is hard, but you would think that a team with the best top laner in the league and a future pro Korean jungler could do better than barely breaking 500. In other circumstances, it almost felt like the universe itself colluded against Khan's success, like in the 2015 spring season. Here, Khan managed to carry his academy team to qualifying for LPL promotion with an actually talented roster. But what should have been an exciting step onto the pro stage turned into disappointment once again, as WE sold this LPL spot to another organization before sending Khan back down to a new amateur team with another new roster.
You can do that? Huh? Selling your slot away just because you qualified and... Huh? That's so weird.
How well Khan was playing didn't do anything to stop the universe from breaking his heart time and time again, in circumstances that just felt more and more cruel with each subsequent event. Like when he first moved to China, the friend he came along beside ended up having a falling out with him, as he'd leave just a few months after arriving, returning back home to Korea. This meant Khan was abandoned in a foreign country without any friends or family. Additionally, when Khan first signed on to his original team, he also signed a 3-year contract, meaning he was stuck here getting paid nothing more than an academy salary for a huge stretch of his career. Later on, Khan would eventually develop into the star player that he became and got to sign a new deal with a new roster.
So this happens as well in League of Legends. A lot of pro players back then, I think orgs tried to just lock them in for years upon years to like long contracts with super low salary. I mean, it's organizations, right? They're trying to take advantage of people, try to pay them as less as possible for as long as possible. Unless they are willing to renegotiate the contracts if you're doing well, I don't necessarily think that happens a lot. So that sucks. This is before franchising. Promotion relegation doesn't exist anymore. Like, just to be able to sell your slots? Imagine if you're playing a qualifier, or I don't know if open qualifiers exist in League, but imagine if you're playing an open qualifier with your friends and you somehow manage to make it in. You qualify for a slot and you win close qualifier and you qualify for either a tournament or something like that, and you're able to just sell your slot.
To finally get paid a bit more. But unfortunately, the team he signed on with ended up having a pretty full roster, so the coaches decided to list him as a substitute rather than a starter. Later on, management approached him and said that they wanted to deduct his salary because he wasn't starting for the team. Even though this went against the original contract he signed, Khan thought it would be fine at first, as they just mentioned deducting 10%.
Yeah, I didn't choose to do all that. The negotiated salary was based on trying to fit each other's needs, so why are you backing out on your word? That's fucked up, man.
I thought it would be fine at first, as they just mentioned deducting 10%. But then Khan realized that they weren't taking 10% off his salary, they were reducing his pay to 10% of what they originally agreed.
The fuck?
The world of League of Legends and its competitive scene is famously unjust at times, but normally a player isn't subjected to so much heartbreak at such a vulnerable stage of their career. Thankfully for Khan, his luck was about to change.
Fuck this org.
Meanwhile, back in Korea,
biblical
a war had
levels
broken
of
out
greed
between organizations. South Korea had established themselves as the best region in the world bar none, but the gates were always open for who the best team in Korea would be. For now, it was SK Telecom and Samsung Galaxy, two orgs that had already won world championships backed by mega corporations. But in 2016, new names wanted to contend for a title. One of those competitors was a team who went by the name Incredible Miracle. This was an organization who originally started as a professional StarCraft team, but had also been competing in League of Legends for a number of years. They always had middling to poor performances for the most part, but suddenly had a new opportunity at the start of Season 6. At the end of 2015, a rich Chinese company bought ownership out, suddenly leaving them flush with cash. Shortly after, the team rebranded themselves to Longzhu Gaming and looked to compete with all the other big spenders in Korea. This started in Season 6 when they created a super team roster
that basically means Dragon Ball
of 10 players, some of which were the most
Dragon
expensive
Pearl,
free agents
something
on the
like
market.
that.
People were excited as Longzhu was suddenly touted as the next up-and-coming squad to conquer Korea and win worlds, but the results couldn't be more disappointing.
Longzhu's going to be stuck in the middle of the pack if they can. Pure going in with a big engaged flame right there, but there's just not a lot of damage with Coco and Chaser
red,
down. They
just like my ranked games.
And that is it. KT will secure the 2-0. Nail-biting finish, but KT takes it. They secure their third place spot in the league, and Longzhu languishing in the middle of the pack there.
ESPN would describe it with a metaphor as the most expensive garbage pile imaginable, as the spring season ended with Longzhu finishing below 500 and missing out on even qualifying for playoffs. The summer season went even worse as the team almost got relegated. Following their rough Season 6, Longzhu tried trimming down their roster to a smaller, talented squad for the start of Season 7.
Okay, so relegation is a thing in Pro League. It's never been a thing in Dota as far as I can remember. There's no case where if you're placed last in... Like, we don't even really have regional leagues, to be honest. We do have regional tournaments back in the days, but nowadays it's a lot more international. Everything is pretty much international nowadays. We had the DPC for a little bit. That was more region-based, but that only lasted a few years, I think. For TI, if you're performing well throughout the year, Valve pretty much just calculate the points in their system or whatever it is. They'll just invite the best performing teams, and then they'll have a couple of wildcard slots back in the day. Nowadays, they don't really have wildcards anymore. Open qualifiers, closed qualifiers. Whatever teams that make it through the open qualifiers qualify for the closed qualifier, which in turn, like, you can just qualify through that. So usually a couple of teams from each region for that. There's no relegation to tier 2s. There's barely even any good performing teams in tier 2s nowadays. Tier 2 Dota just feels dead. You're either tier 1 or you're not getting paid shit.
In the 2017 spring split, they still found themselves overpaying for stars who couldn't win more games than they lost. It turned out League of Legends was a game where money could buy talent, but it couldn't buy wins. So in the middle of the 2017 season, the organization blew everything up. They kept their veteran bot lane duo of Prey and Gorilla, who were some really talented stars performing the best of anyone on the team, but they got rid of everyone else. Their mid laner was replaced with a new signee from the recently relegated CJ
BDD.
Entis, and their jungler was swapped out for a substitute
It's still
player
active.
who hadn't been doing anything but riding the bench so far. These were two young rookies the organization hoped maybe could learn from some of the veterans and eventually develop into stars years down the line. Longzhu didn't really have any idea who they could sign for top lane though. Since it was the middle of the season, no big name free agents were available, nor any exciting rookies, so in a desperate move to find something, Longzhu signed 2 amateur players that had been playing in foreign markets up until this point. They picked up Rascal, who was a Korean top laner that was finding a bit of success recently in the Japanese professional league. They also
Japanese professional
signed
league.
Khan. When Khan arrived in Korea, he brought his aggressive...
So this was the thing as well. We don't have reserve players in Pro Dota. You can get stand-ins if your current roster or like some people in your current roster aren't able to play. But generally, we don't really have reserve players in the roster. I think a lot of teams in League nowadays, they don't have it. Especially after T1's like disastrous 10-man roster experiment. Plus you need to build synergy, right, within the team. If you're just swapping out players over and over again, they're not gonna get the experience needed. You just want to be playing with the same roster, regardless. Unless you feel like it's unsalvageable and then some things need to change, and you change it.
Play style with him, and it turned out nobody knew how to deal with it. Normal game states that players were used to, like 2v1 situations where one team is clearly ahead and should pick up an easy kill, were suddenly flipped upside down by a kid who refused to stop fighting.
Zio was exposed. Prey actually dies with his ultimate up. The Featherstone wasn't even used in the fight. There's no heal for
my
him.
god.
As Khan wants to turn around and kill.
Yep, looks for it. Actually does a decent job there on the fake of the flash. Oh my god, finds the weak point now. Wolf, he's in trouble. The double kill for Khan.
It was honestly insane. No matter how outmatched Khan might be in a situation, he would not back down.
Wants more kills.
Jumping around the side, there's the heroic entrance just to make sure that this is not a fight that Khan can win unless he takes down Wolf, slice and dice, makes it out with the dark passage.
This wasn't supposed to happen. Korea was the region that perfected League. Their min-activity max precision style should allow them to punish over-aggressive players who try to make the game more chaotic with the mistakes that naturally came in their style of play. But Khan wasn't making mistakes anymore. He was playing flawlessly. It took a mountain of men to bring him down, and even then, he wouldn't go down.
And now Khan is all alone, 1v2, trying to hop on over with that flash and with the slow. He make it away, but here comes Pawn. They're looking for the knife. 3 members trying to go under this turret. There's the flash stun. There's the burst damage. But whoa! He gets killed under turret. They'll force the flash away.
Just walks.
Away. What the hell? How did he just win 1v3?
Okay, so I thought Zeus was crazy. This guy is insane. What the actual fuck did I just
They had tamed
watch?
the League for so long, they forgot what a crazy mess of frustrating fun the game could be until this monkey wrench was thrown in their system. Although Longzhu signed 2 top laners for the 2017 summer split, Rascal only started 1 game all year. They hit gold with the other. This new team of full
I
aggro
kind of feel
rookies
bad
led
for
by
Rascal,
Khan
not gonna lie.
finished the season on top of the standings in first place.
He's like Guma
The
Yushi
Korean
in
Professional
T1.
League has a unique playoff structure where the best performing teams in the regular season are granted buys based on where they finish, the best performing team getting seeded directly into the playoff finals. That meant Longzhu, with their direct seed into the LCK Championship, would only need to win a single best-of-5 series to become champions. But that task would still be difficult because of who they were facing. SK Telecom stood on the other side of the rift, who are the greatest team in League of Legends history. SKT had won 3 titles, rostered the greatest player ever, and up until now, had never lost an LCK final. Naturally, most fans expected SKT to win the series pretty handedly. It would take a bit of a miracle for these rookies to beat the greatest team ever in a best-of-5.
Topside here for Longzhu, wanting to make sure that no sneaky little Baron's going to be taken by SKT. As Faker once again in trouble.
Oh, baby.
Oh, the counter stun comes in as there's the leap strike and the 1 versus
How does it
1
feel like
Khan
Faker
proving
kind of has
himself versus
PTSD
Faker.
playing against Khan?
Khan needs to go and do some yakety attacks of his own because he knows the rest of SKT are coming.
What? Bang has taken down Cuz at least as Khan turning it around against Faker. Oh my god, that damage with the shot block. Picks up Faker and Hootie. It's going to be Bray cleaning up on the back.
And he's alive.
My god, load as the massive damage from Bray is going to say goodnight to the king of the mid lane. The Nexus falls and your new champions of the LCK.
You can't predict the unpredictable.
Longzhu won the series 3-1, and Khan carried them to victory, winning MVP in the process. Top lane was the story of this series, as it was symbolic of the direction League was about to go. For the first few games, Khan faced off against SKT's top laner Untara, who was the polar opposite of him in every way. Untara was
a pro player? I didn't even know that. Nowadays, he's a streamer for T1, right? How good was he back in the day? Franchising means you lock the 10 teams in the league. You cannot promote or relegate anymore, but the 10 teams can maintain sponsors. So it's like a constant thing. It's not like so does that mean if a new team wants to get in, they just can't? Or is there like a qualifier for those situations? They'll have to buy out an existing team's slot. That's fucked up though. That just means new orgs can never get into League if they want to, unless they're rich as fuck. I guess the rookie path to becoming a pro is that, of course, you gotta make challengers and you gotta keep climbing the ladder to get noticed. And then maybe if you're young, you sign to an academy team and that's your in. Beyond that, I guess you just can't do the thing of forming a stack with some other players from pubs that you know and you get along with and qualify that way. Yeah, I guess this just can't happen in League. This can happen in Dota.
Player that embodied minimum activity, maximum precision. His approach to top lane was to always play tanks, never look for any action, instead just focusing on farming and surviving until later on in a match when he could help out his allies in team fights. He stuck to the tried and true Korean formula, and Khan humiliated him in front of a national audience.
He's able to
Feels bad, man.
He pops a locket, he turns around and engages.
Dude, what are these skins, man?
That say screw you, Shen, on the handles. There's nothing Shen can do. Shen is not set up to deal with every potential item to kill him.
It just looks like a weeb running around. I don't even know what this champ is. I cannot tell.
Perfect. If a team or player played proactively against an opponent that was being too passive, they could build up gold leads through outlast hitting and finding opportunities for kills that nobody had been taking advantage of before. Once you had any sort of advantage, if you kept your foot down on the gas pedal and continued pressing your opponent, they won't know what to do if all they know is to sit back, give up objectives, and not engage fights that they won't win. All of this meant that being an aggressive carry top laner wasn't just fun, but now it turned out it was the perfect way to break the old meta, which even SKT realized mid-series. In Game 3, SK substituted Untara out of the game for Huni, who was their own carry top laner that specialized in aggressive gameplay. Game 3 was the one and only match SKT was able to win in the series, emphasizing you could only fight fire with fire, but even Huni couldn't play as well as Khan, who took control Game 4 and helped lead Longzhu to their first title.
They left the turret up so they could gank again, just to be clear.
Yep, well, the Rupture is going to hit the fat guy, but Huni.
The fat guy.
Beaten to a pulp. Oh my god, Khan doesn't miss a shock blast, and will just wander his way out. Faker and Blank say,
In his first ever split of play in the LCK, Khan just carried his team to a championship, established himself as one of the best top laners in the game, and was now headed to Worlds.
롤드컵 진출 이미 결정됐는데 저희도 다 같이 좋게 갔으면 좋겠어요. 무슨 말인지 아시죠?
One of the biggest things that affects strategy in League of Legends that I
He's
haven't
pretty charismatic
mentioned thus
too,
far is the in-game patches. Because League is a game with so many characters and strategies for players to choose from, some will always naturally be better than others. At times, certain characters or tactics may be incredibly overpowered, while others are essentially unplayable. So the game's developers, Riot, try to balance out the game with an update patch every few weeks. These patches usually contain new characters,
fuck Pendragon,
major updates, and stat changes to try and get the game a bit more balanced.
I'm obligated to say
Usually leading up to a world championship, though, patches are meant to be much smaller in scope. After all, Riot doesn't want to make a major update that forces all the pro teams to change tactics right before the most important tournament of the year. But at 2017 Worlds, that's exactly what happened. Throughout Season 7, one item had been dominating the meta, called Ardent Sensor. Ardent was an early game support item usually built bot lane, where once it was finished, it would give its user an ability where every time they shielded an ally, that ally would be given a series of buffs: bonus attack speed, damage, and lifesteal on every auto attack. Ardent had been a bit too
balanced
strong all year, as this single item was enough to give allied carries extra damage while also giving them extra survivability. That much utility in a single, relatively cheap purchase was kind of taking over the game, leading to many complaints for Ardent to be nerfed going into the World Championship. On patch 7.17, released right after the summer split, Riot did give the item a small change going into Worlds. They said they were decreasing the attack speed buff and health drain to try and balance it out to make Ardent more fair, but they didn't actually do that.
Health drain buff decreased. Let's see how they decreased it. Attack speed buff, 20 to 30.
This, in Dota, I call this an AI patch. I'll explain how Dota patches work. We have numbered patches, which are usually bigger patches, especially if it's like a bigger number, like a rounded number. It's usually like big content patches. But then you have alphabet patches, which are just small changes, like little buffs and debuffs to certain units that are maybe a little bit too overpowered or underpowered, or some things that need immediate attention. These are the same things that happen in Dota as well when it comes to alphabet patches. When they have nothing else to change, -1 attack, -1 armor, +1 armor. So as far as I can remember, there was an item like this in Dota that dominated a TI.
This item is super broken, guys.
It's not fun. First blood.
In a normal scenario, this hero just dies and you take a fight 4 versus 5. You burst the guy. But this item happens and you are never gonna burst any hero. Trust me, guys. Nobody's ever gonna die.
Going.
You need 2 more hits. 3 more hits. Look! Look at the damage. They have 0 damage.
You both, even though you want a TI off it, of course, like Wraith Pack needs to kind of get removed, right? Like, it's just...
for sure. I don't want to see that item ever again. You have like Pipe for magic damage, like Crimson for physical, and then there's Wraith Pack that just...
everything.
About all I have to say on the change to Ardent Sensor.
What Riot had done was adjust the item. The attack speed buff and health drain were changed, so rather than scale over the course of a game, they were given flat numbers. Although these numbers did nerf the late game cap on the bonuses, it actually buffed Ardent to be even stronger in the early game.
Yep.
And this single change completely ruined League.
We do get Ardent Sensor here from RNG. Ardent Sensor better. And still have the Ardent Sensor
around the shields, Ardent Sensor.
Well, because when you have Ardent
they have
Sensor,
still found an Ardent Sensor. You can't ban all of them right there
with that Ardent Sensor. There are other ways to get Ardent Sensors.
Double relic shielding.
But that's also the very interesting thing about the meta coming into Worlds, where we have more of these Ardent Sensor late game comps.
2017 Worlds came to be known as the Worlds of Ardent Sensor.
I think at that point, just fucking remove the item.
Didn't matter how you qualified for it, the winner of this event
Disable
would be
it
the
for
one who could play most
Worlds.
passively, who could play around bot lane, and who could build Ardent Sensor the best. There was so little else to discuss, it became a meme in the
Ardent
league
Sensor
community.
35,000 times.
Rush the Ardent Sensor as fast as possible.
Oh my god.
The meta had been completely broken, meaning everyone from solo queue to the pro scene were now forced to play around this one item. And this was entirely unfair to Longzhu Gaming. They had just come off innovating one of the most exciting proactive styles of play League had seen in years, max activity, max aggression, which had toppled some of the greatest teams in the game's history. But everything they had learned had now been made entirely irrelevant. Just like everyone else, if they wanted to win Worlds, they would have to use passive Ardent Sensor play, although that could still end up working. Longzhu's bot lane were a legendary duo who had the talent to stack up against any other bot lane out there. If top tier AD carry and support gameplay would be what it took to win a World Championship, they certainly had the skill to do so.
On the Tristana,
the question was whether or not the rest of their team could successfully play around them. Khan in particular had the toughest job of anyone, as his past year was just spent perfecting hyper carry top laners with a lane dominant style that he was
91% win rate on
Jace
Jace.
Play anymore. Instead, he would have to pick up some new characters, being forced into playing off tanks and other supportive bruisers that could help out the Ardent bot lane. He figured out a few ways to still make things work and have fun doing so, at least in the group stage, finding some fun oddball picks that could get the best of both worlds. This led Longzhu to a 6-0 start, looking strong, but then
the rest of the team ready to push through the bot lane. The wave already pushed the inhibitor. Easy to drop. Samsung Galaxy defying expectations. 3-0 was a likely result, but not in the way you expect here.
Just because you do well in groups.
Galaxy eliminated Longzhu in quarterfinals, as they would be the ones to steamroll their way to winning the World Championship.
Alright, Worlds doesn't have lower brackets. Ugh, I'm not sure if I like that.
Although Samsung were the number 3 seed from Korea, considered to be less talented than Longzhu or SKT
Yeah, I don't like that
paper,
actually.
no other team could challenge their run for the title because this meta fit their playstyle perfectly. They were the best at the min activity, max precision attitude, which had been made even more potent because of Ardent Sensor.
Granted, everything is best of 5. So I guess if it's the better team, then it's a better team. In Dota, everything's best of 3. So best of 3, if you are in winner's bracket and you lose, you still get a second chance in the loser's bracket. Like even with BO5, so you can have an off day, right? So I don't really like the idea that there's no lower bracket in Worlds. Like a lot of you are used to it by this point, but yeah, I don't like it.
Samsung had a shockingly easy time slowing down the pace of their games to a complete crawl, dragging out matches until they could rotate into finding the perfect teamfights guaranteeing wins. This took a lot of talent, of course. They had spent all year perfecting this style of play and executed flawlessly. But this, combined with the prevalence of Ardent, ended up giving us some of the most boring games League fans had ever seen. Matches dragged on for ages, while little to no action occurred in series that didn't even end up being particularly close.
This is the League I knew back then.
This year's Worlds, we even saw fewer kills per player than ever before. It was shocking for fans to see one single outlier update make the game so passive, but it was even more of a disappointment to see that update have such a huge effect on an event as important as the World Championship. I think in retrospect, a lot of people would probably look back and say that it all felt pretty unfair, but then again, League is a game plenty would call unfair.
How did they think that was okay to even put it in the game? I'm so sick of this fucking company.
Riot realized their mistake after Worlds and reverted Ardent Sensor in the following offseason. Better late than never, with this change, the league got back to where it was before, and Longzhu were able to return to their max activity, max aggression.
I think even if they just removed one of those buffs, right, it would already be kinda okay. It's still an OP item, but at the very least, you give people a reason to not buy it as often.
Playstyle. They rebranded once again in the following offseason, changing their team name to Kingzone Dragon X, but how talented this roster was stayed the same. In the 2018 spring split, Khan led his squad to a near perfect season, finishing on top of the standings with a 16-2 record. This once again gave them a spot in the grand finals of playoffs, although this time they would have to face a team of unfamiliar faces. Instead of their opponents being SKT or Samsung Galaxy or another Korean powerhouse, Kingzone would have to go through a rookie squad, the Afrika Freaks, led by another hyper carry top laner. It turned out, although Longzhu didn't win Worlds in 2017, the rest of the world recognized what they had done. Everyone saw how they built a team out of hyper-aggressive solo lane stars, and how that constant aggression allowed them to topple some of the greatest teams of all time, so in the following offseason, everyone copied them. All across the world, teams from every region had begun retooling their rosters around aggressive carry players.
What a cool jersey, though. Holy
spirit. Kingzone may have trailblazed their way to the top, But now the rest of the world could follow in their footsteps. Even so, Khan was still the best top laner in Korea, which he proved as he led KDX to beat Afrika in the 2018 Spring Split Grand Finals.
In the front, Brave showing off that Kaiser saying, get the hell, oh, there it is! They sniped the Kog'Maw! That is huge!
This gave the team their second straight LCK championship and sent them to another international competition, the Mid-Season Invitational. But at MSI, KDX finally cracked. Their aggressive style was now being challenged by so many other aggressive teams, they couldn't stay flawless forever. Although they played well enough to make it to Grand Finals, KDX would lose to the Chinese organization RNG, being denied another international championship. Man. Upon returning to Korea, Khan and KDX found a very different region than the one they had left. In the following summer split, the Korean server fully embraced max activity, max aggression, and they tipped the standings upside down with a changing of the guard. Superstar teams like SK Telecom were left in the dust, not even making playoffs, as rookie squads with no-name players found themselves on top of the table. All sorts of solo laners and proactive rosters were being given a chance they had never seen before, in part due to KDX's innovations. Khan still stood ahead of the pack when it came to individual player talent, as he won the regular season MVP award, showing just how great he was, but KDX as a team only ended up finishing third in the standings. The following playoff series would end with more disappointment, as they ended the year a distant fourth and failed to qualify for Worlds. For neutral fans, this was one of the most exciting times to follow League of Legends. Not only were games filled with loads of crazy plays, but max activity, max aggression was also allowing new teams to come out of nowhere and make a name for themselves. This year, we even saw a new region win Worlds for the first time in half a decade, as the Chinese team Invictus Gaming used a hyper-carry Korean top laner to lead them to glory. It was a fun time for spectators, but it also meant even the most talented players in the world.
So I mentioned this before. I've heard a lot about the Shy, especially now that he's made his return to IG, but I don't really know his contributions to the scene in general. I've just heard a lot about him.
A more difficult scene than ever before to try and carve out a legacy. For what it's worth though, I don't think Khan cared that much about anything like a legacy.
온다. 약간 리듬이 맞아. 온다. 다시 한번 가자. 가자. 가자 도마. 가자. 가자.
Even though he was one of the best players in the world, Khan approached the pro scene like he was just a regular League player. He sort of became the people's top laner, saying the kinds of things that every top laner says from bronze to diamond.
전 세계 탑 라이너분들이 한 가지만큼은 이제 명심하셨으면 좋겠어요. 여러분들이 지는 게 아니고 여러분들이 지면은 그거는 정글 탓입니다.
His attitude and demeanor was endearing in how relatable he was. I think a lot of average League fans could look at Khan and see a lot of themselves in him, even the ugly side that this game can bring out in all of us. At the start of
if he was from North America or from Europe, he'd be prime Reddit material.
The 2018 season, Khan was involved in an incident when grinding out practice in solo queue. During one of his games, he was paired up with 3 Chinese players and 1 Taiwanese player in Champion Select, and that game didn't end up going too well. In a moment of heated frustration when the team was behind, Khan typed in all chat, "For Chinese can't win." Although he was probably just trying to blow off some steam, this comment was seen as a bit insensitive, particularly to the Taiwanese player, so Riot Korea stepped in, banning Khan for a match of professional play and served him with a fine. Khan responded himself by apologizing publicly on the team's Facebook page and shaved his head in penance.
Wow.
This is part of what made Khan such a lovable character. Much of esports in the past had been very focused on being as slick and cool and professional as possible, but here we had one of the best players in the world just acting like a goofball.
So the equivalent that I can make is that he's a Dota player at heart. Dota esports scene is not nearly as polished or as prim or as pristine as League's is. We just have a lot of personalities back in the day at the very least. Nowadays, not so much. Nowadays, I don't think a lot of players even show their personalities. Back then, we had people like Dandy, we had Puppy.
Hi, Puppy.
Hey.
I'm gonna come around here so I can talk to you better. How confident are you in this team?
You know, sitting next to Dendi. All times, you know.
You wish it were Dendy.
Isn't it?
It can't be.
Salvi's Asian scene, we had Ice Ice Ice.
Are you Ice Ice Ice?
No.
What's your name?
I'm not.
Are you Michael?
No, they're trolling you.
Who is Excuse me a second. Hi. How's it going? That's right. You're pretty talkative, huh?
Sing Sing, my favorite player of all time.
Just want to ask you one question. You just beat CLG in a 2-1 game. It looked very, very difficult, very hard. How hard was that game?
It was probably close to my easiest game of my life.
All right, thank you very much, Sing Sing, for coming on the show. Good luck in the future games, and we'll see you later.
Thank you, thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Master.
You hang up. Fucking Sing Sing.
So there's a lot of players who you know and love, and you just recognize their personalities from interviews and such. He just behaves like a normal human being. This is part of the reason why I couldn't get into League esports back then, because it was so it felt very safe, whereas in Dota it just felt a lot more human. And then Overwatch came out, and then they tried to do the same thing with Overwatch League, and they just boosted XQC's career, I guess.
Oh, my tooth just fell out.
What?
Just a moment, please. Are you okay?
Khan always approached League like he cared more about building a highlight montage on YouTube than he actually cared about winning games. Even the few mistakes he made in-game were the sort of thing you would normally just see in solo queue.
And possibly Sungwon as well if they're in melee range. Wow, he looked really cool when he did that.
Yeah, he's still might be able to kill Songwon. Jumps over with the broken wings, flashes out. Abyssal Voyage to make sure Khan doesn't die.
Khan basically played League of Legends the way we all do, for fun. That's just the kind of personality he has. The fact he was able to win so much with it, though, was astonishing. Everybody loved watching him play and loved the personality that came along with it. Really, the only sad thing about his career was that
Peanut,
it
what the
couldn't
fuck?
last forever.
Peanut.
South Korea had been the best region in the world at producing League of Legends stars for a while, but there was always a cruel twist that came along with that. League pros have short careers compared to any other sport or traditional job. While most players debut on stage around 18, they're normally lucky if they can hold a roster spot for a decade, with most players retiring by the time they turn 28. This leaves a pretty short window where someone can compete at their best, which is even shorter for Korean players. In South Korea, all able-bodied men have to complete at least 2 years of compulsory military service in one of the branches of the armed forces, beginning when you turn 18 years old. You don't have to do it right away, as you can defer through a process of delays at least for a little while, but you do have to enlist by the time you turn 28.
The Korean military service is insane. If you guys just want a sneak preview into what it feels like to be in the Korean military service, just look up Korean Englishmen. They have a series where they invited like British high school kids to have a tour around Korea, because that's what their channel is about, introducing Korean culture to other cultures. And they brought British high school kids to join the military service for a few days or a week or so, I don't remember. But it was insane.
So then we get taken to this building and you go in and it is like, it's literally a gas chamber. Like no windows, this grey room. Like it was just so intimidating.
This is terrifying. Yeah, this is awful. This is absolutely horrible.
I don't know if you guys go through the same thing in your respective countries, but for us over here in Malaysia, I've mentioned this before, it's not mandatory, but if you do get drafted, you kind of have to go unless you have a medical reason not to. So that's pretty much it.
Obviously unfortunate for League of Legends pros. Khan was in an extra sucky situation since his career didn't really kick off for a while. He had spent just as much time trapped in the academy scene as he did in top leagues, not making his LCK debut until he was already 22. Of course, there were a ton of accomplishments he had already racked up in his first few splits of play, but whatever else he wanted to do would have to get done within the next few years. Not wanting to put off military service forever, Khan decided he would likely retire from League and enlist in the military around when he turned 26. That meant he had just a few more years to accomplish whatever he still wanted to do before moving on from the game. Obviously, only Khan himself could know for certain what his goals were, but there's two things I'm sure were on the forefront of his mind. The first was
I'm gonna sneeze. Now the sneeze is gone. I don't know what's worse. Having the sneeze go away without sneezing, or sneezing really loudly. Here's something I've been meaning to ask, but is there any documentaries or anyone who's made a follow-up on where some of the ex-pros or retired pros are at after they retire? What are they doing now, or is it just like super private information and we don't really have a lot of info on? Because even in Dota, I think there's not a lot of people who are able to transition from being an active player into someone who is involved behind the scenes, unless they're doing coaching work. But not a lot of players are good at being coaches, just like not a lot of coaches are good at being players. So it's not necessarily an easy transition. And then there's people who turn into casters as well, I guess. But that's also kind of rare because gamers are gamers. Gamers are generally kind of antisocial and pretty awkward when it comes to speeches. So not a lot of players can do that. For those who are not involved in the scene anymore or behind the scenes in any way, I would want to know what they're up to. They mostly become streamers or coaches. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Because when you look at people like Double Lift or Sneaky or Reckless, like I think all League pros kind of streamed back in the days, right? But for Dota, you could stream, but viewership is pretty low. Unless you are really freaking good in your prime. Or Russian. Like, Russian streamers still get a fuck ton of views if they're playing Dota, because I think Dota is a lot more popular in Russia than in any other country in the world. Generally, Dota streamers don't really make much money, which is sad, but it is what it is. We're kind of used to it at this point. Even the top English Dota streamer, I think nowadays, is Topson. Topson is a part of OG. They won 2 TIs back to back. He was probably their most interesting player to watch because he makes unusual builds and he plays heroes that are not necessarily in meta. No Tail, right? No Tail and Seb, they don't really get that many viewers. The Cadril of Dota, that would be Gork. Gork's viewership has been just going down. It's mostly because he's only been watching pro games and he hasn't really played. I mean, Cadril's kind of the same, right? Cadril plays occasionally, not every stream. He mostly watches, but because League is still so popular all over the world, his viewership is just at an all-time high. Whereas I think Gork just averages about maybe 7 to 10k viewers whenever he's watching a pro tournament.
Probably to make as much money as he could. Most of Khan's career was spent getting screwed over by crummy contracts, getting paid minimum wage at times, even though he was one of the best players in the world. I'm sure he wanted to use his time in the spotlight to get paid for his talents with whatever time he had left. The other thing I'm sure he wanted was to win an international title. League of Legends is a game that famously has many of its greatest players never come close to winning Worlds. All the unpredictability that makes League such a frustrating and infuriating experience on a casual level also extends to the pro scene, as great individual talent doesn't guarantee wins, even for the best of us. This unfortunately is magnified even more with the randomness of tournament structures and single elimination, on top of things like patches that might hit the server to make your strategies entirely irrelevant, which all comes together to cause some of the game's biggest and craziest innovators
how often do big patches happen before major tournaments? Because I don't think that ever happens in Dota. It'll at least be like a few months before.
Never see trophies and recognition for their skill. It's one of the greatest tragedies of this game and the infrequent international tournaments, but if there was any player out there who was good enough to force his way to a championship, if there was anyone who the game itself owed him a title, it was Khan. Now, he had 3 years to do it.
Ooh. SKT to a dominant spring split without dropping a game. qualified SKT for the mid-season invitational, where in semifinals they had to play G2.
Caps is trying to find the kill. Martin's in trouble. Baker's low, but they've already got one at the matter. Where is Teddy? Oh, his HP bar. Can't match from the wall. Teddy's dead. Yandos is in the pit. G2 Esports have been gifted and donated a Baron when the West rose up to conquer champions. G2 Esports eliminates SK Telecom.
Con and SKT had a slower start, but cruised through playoffs, earning Korea's #1 seed. In the 2019 Worlds, SKT were looking strong, beating everyone, until semifinals where they had to play G2. G2 is their kryptonite, huh? How good was Yankos in his prime? Because I'm looking forward to the Lost Returns documentary that's coming up. Don't know when it's coming out though. Tragic seeing Khan try to carry Faker, Teddy, Effort, and... Damn, dude. Signed a 1-year deal with the defending world champions FunPlus Phoenix. This meant his 2020 season would be a homecoming, as he would be going to LPL to play Season 10 in China.
Although 2020 ended up being disappointing, as FPX's roster could never quite gel together during a turbulent COVID year, Khan still had a wonderful time. Going back to China was like a homecoming, where he got to play alongside fun players and a fun team, putting to rest all the frustrations he had to deal with the last time he was in the region. Everything lined up so perfectly for a great career arc, Khan considered retiring then and there. That is, until the 2020 World Champions came knocking at his door.
DWG. He's forced to join the military at the end of the year and will retire. So his signature is definitely his chase.
For the double kill of Khan.
This chase is insane.
Didn't know about this TP, I guess. Teddy had no idea, and oh man.
Just kill everyone. Just kill everyone. Who cares?
Faker tries takes the kill. Canyon was down to like what, 1 health? Alright, well congratulations for your series MVP, Canyon. The Nexus falls down, and Damwon Kia get the 3-0 over Gen.G and will be your Spring LCK champions.
After winning the 2021 Spring Korean Split, getting his 5th domestic title, Khan came closer than ever to winning it internationally. At MSI that year, he made it to Grand Finals and only fell by a single game to RNG.
Feels
once again.
bad, man.
He was so close to being over that hump.
Khan's last split in Korea.
On the top side, that is a fantastic fear, but you can see that Khan still looking for it. The paranoia coming down. Dudu really wants this, but he's not going to find it. As that was, oh my goodness, he survives for such a long time. Finds the knock up with the Q. He buys time, but what's it for? It's so that the rest of Damwon Kia can destroy Hanwha Live.
Oh, they're just trying to get the smite down on time, and when they're coming in, but Showmaker has the damage, and he takes out 2. But the Infernal Soul will go the way of T1. Can Owner and Kana salvage it? No! Damwon wins the fight, and they're teleporting to try to end the game. It's gonna go the way of Damwon. They just have to hit the Nexus, and Damwon Kia will be your champions of LCK Summer 2021.
At the end of the 2021 Summer Split, Khan won his last ever LCK season and cemented an unbelievable
So basically they beat
Although
Koreans and they can't beat anyone
the average
else.
Players by a wide margin, he now had more championships than any other top laner in LCK history, winning 6 titles with 4 different teams. He won every LCK split he entered, except for one during the 2018 summer season, when he still won MVP, leading a revolution of aggressive gameplay that changed how everyone across the world approached the game. He had multiple All-Pro accolades, MVPs, plenty of things decorating his trophy cabinet, along with the respect and admiration of every pro all around the world. Literally, the only thing he had left to do was win a world championship. But that's about to change.
Oh?
Into the hook, blasting almost down, but he pops the stopwatch just in time. Supreme says talent will come out. It's a double for Khan. Benny, the hook was there for Rogue, but immediately it's slammed right back. Khan comes in, couple more shots, a penta for Khan.
Doesn't have anything to say about it, and an 18-2 absolute.
And he's doing it on his favorite champ. Feels good, man.
Came to play.
Different comps and. Really are able to play a lot of different styles. We are potentially finding a kill on top side. Armor going in with the Cyclone. Khan's going to knock him back. Armor flashes. He will watch and die as Damwon Kia clean up the fight.
Damwon are just way too good at
Kia. In the pursuit of perfection, they are found worthy once again.
Dude.
And they will fight T1 in...
That's Medic, right? Oh, he always has these lines.
Bet on this smite. Baker goes to sleep. Kana now stepping forward. 3K getting lower. Kana going all the way, trying to lock the thing, but who's going to get it? No! In the end, it is Canyon. When it matters most, you will find the smite. Megumi Yushi standing strong on the backside. It does not matter. In the face of the Elder, Damwon Kia will wipe T1 off the map.
They're going to TP top as well. They have the Elder Dragon. They have a wave. They have everything they need to go to the World Finals.
Which only leaves us with Grand Finals. It's Game 5. All Khan needs to do is win this one match of League of Legends to finish his career off perfectly. He picks Graves top lane in Champion Select, a perfect aggressive laner, and one of his first ever favorite champions. The match starts off well. Khan's being aggressive right from the get-go, zoning the enemy top laner from CS, building an impressive gold lead. Everything's lined up so perfectly, it almost feels like a moment that's too good to be true.
Why you gotta say it like that?
Oh, there's the flash forward. Khan is dead.
All of this gold funneled onto Flandre on this cannon, with him reaching very close to level 11 and having his jungler here.
This is a problem. He's decided to commit, but he throws away the ultimate. And Chasing Maelstrom comes in, and now Khan trying to take down Canyon. There's the collateral damage finally. He gets it done, and he's not done yet. JJ taking a lot of damage. Khan will miss side of Damwon Kia, but the dragon resets. Oh, the flash doesn't work out there for Khan, but he's still trying to get this one done. It does not work, and the dragon will be Damwon Kia are limping.
Feels bad, man.
The Nexus will go down, and against all odds, EDG will be your 2021 World Champion.
In Game 5, Damwon Gaming lost.
As soon as you hear the fucking piano music, you just know.
His career was over. His last ever match would be a loss in Grand Finals of Worlds. To date, he is the only player in the history of League of Legends to make 3 international Grand Finals and lose them all. How did this happen? Well, the match looked good at first. Khan got a lane bully champion and made the most of him, being aggressive with his classic style of play, building an impressive gold lead through denying last hits, but the enemy top laner was playing Kennen, a teamfight champion. Later on in the first teamfight of the game, Kennen picked up first blood, and the gold he got from that kill basically made up for the entire lead Khan had built. Right after that fight, Khan had to recall and heal up, where upon returning to lane, he was lane ganked by the enemy jungler. There was no vision he could have used to see this gank coming. This wasn't really a mistake. If you were being picky, you could say Khan should have been playing ultra passively since nobody knew where the enemy jungler was, but Khan wasn't the type of guy to play ultra passively. From that moment onward, the match just kind of snowballed out of control. There's a lot of things that could have gone differently in retrospect. Khan could have played more passively and potentially made a comeback happen. His teammates could have done more and carried him through a rough early game. Everyone could have been better prepared or performed better in teamfights, but at the end of the day, this is just League of Legends. Sometimes everything goes wrong, and it doesn't feel fair.
Yeah. I mean, I just played a game where I had my Senna AFK for 4 minutes in lane, so yeah. But what a way to go out, right? If you gotta play your last match in the grand finals of Worlds, even if you lose, that's still like one of the peaks of the games. Something fell off.
일단 EDG가 준비를 좀 잘해왔던 것 같고 저희 쪽에서는 좀 동화 형이 좀 못했다고 생각합니다. 오늘 경기하면서 좀 아쉬웠던 순간은 좀 많았던 것 같고 그 중심에 좀 동화 형이 있었다고 생각합니다. 그리고
네, 일단 오늘 경기 5세트 플레이하면서 이제 가장 아쉬웠던 순간은 동화 형이 자꾸 죽어가지고 좀
탑 차이가 좀 난 것 같습니다.
Are they joking or not? Cause yeah. I mean, that's fine. If he's in on a joke, that's fine. But what a cool way to go, though. It's like,
제가 여태까지
it's like what? I'm already retiring anyway, right? So if there's anyone who can bear the brunt of this, let me be the target dummy. Let me tank all this.
볼 수 있게 이제 도움 주신 많은 선수분들, 이제 많은 팀에서 있었던 선수분들, 코칭 스태프분들 너무나도 감사합니다. 그리고 항상 응원해 주시는 팬 여러분들 항상 너무 감사하고요. 그리고 응원해 주는 친구들아 고맙다. 가족들 사랑합니다. 그리고 뭐 항상 열심히 응원해주고 제가
girlfriend who has time for that.
많은 도움 돼준 여자친구한테도 감사하다는 얘기 꼭 전하고 싶었네요. 사랑합니다. 우승하고 있으면 더 멋있었을 텐데.
Hiya, no wonder you lose. Who has time for girlfriend when you pro player?
됐습니다. 원래 올해 은퇴할 사람 이렇게 붙잡아가지고 꾸역꾸역 결승 무대까지 밟게 해줘서 동생들한테도 너무 많이 배우다 가서 올 한 해 잊지 못할 것 같습니다. 한 70살 될 때에도 우려 먹도록 하겠습니다. 다들 좋은 추억 남겨줘서 감사하고 다들 건강하세요. 사랑합니다.
It's weirdly poetic that the man who found so much joy in a game known for being so cruel to us had the game respond by being so cruel to him. League is frustrating and brutal and gets under your skin in a way nothing else does. We're all along for a ride we don't remember signing up for. We care about it so much and we work so hard towards success.
Also,
it gets under your skin.
Why this dude has a camera angle of him beating up his setup? Did he pre-plan this? Or does he just have this camera angle already set up?
In a way nothing else does.
Also, why this monitor facing the wall?
And gets under your skin in a way.
Or is that a light? I guess it's probably a light.
Nothing else does. We're all along for a ride we don't remember signing up for. We care about it so much, and we work so hard towards success, it makes sense there's days we lose our cool. But even so, there's good days too. They'll pass by too quickly, and feel all too short. But if you approach everything with a smile, and keep good company, and you work hard to insist the world make a place for you in it, you'll find moments that make it all feel worthwhile. Just keep a grin on your face, be kind to others, don't take things too seriously, make your hometown proud.
Oh, I like this guy.
Khan grew up on a small island off the coast of the Korean peninsula, but I think it's safe to say he taught every region across the world just how great life can be if you never stop having fun.
True. At the end of the day, whether you play Dota, whether you play League, whether you play other games, chances are you're not a professional. Chances are you're climbing the ladder just for internet dick points. Let's be real. Your e-penis grows if you have a higher MMR, and you can gloat to your friends about it, and you're like, I'm Masters in League, guys. What ranks are you? Usually, who gives a fuck? Alright, if you're having fun, then of course. If you're not having fun and you're just relentlessly queuing and just chain tilting, at that point, maybe reevaluate life. Because if you're not having fun anymore, what's the point? Games like this, it drains your sanity, it drains your mental, it drains your energy, but it's also addicting. It is good to find a balance. It is good to just close the game sometimes and just open up other games and play it. Or just do other things. Or just like take a walk outside, whatever it is. I like this guy, man. Of all the pros that I've seen, like Guma Yushi is probably like a really good guy, right? Just from the parts that I've seen of him comforting the rookie who joined T1 when Faker had his wrist injury issues and stuff. This guy feels very human. He feels like the most human League player that I've seen so far. Like, he was allowed to show his personality, right? He's not PR trained. People don't really expect too much from him to like play like a robot and stuff like that. So he's just having fun. He never lost that side of him. It's just fun to watch. And despite never winning Worlds, he won a fuck ton of regional. And he also made an impact in the game in the way that he broke the meta, just re-innovated how the game was played, and had a bunch of teams from different regions copying his playstyle, and I don't think a lot of people can actually say that. So yeah, this was very nice. This was a cool watch. I love watching documentaries like this where it feels like highlighting players that don't really get the flowers that they deserve. And because this is like a brand new esports scene for me, right? I don't really know a lot of the players, even though I've heard of a lot of their names. Of course, you're gonna know T1. I think everybody knows T1. Even if you're not a League fan, you're probably gonna have heard of Faker and like other pros who are in T1, because they are the most popular ones. Some of these names that are lost to time, even though they've made such a significant impact and they've contributed so much to the game. It's good to just highlight these players. It's good to watch stuff like this, or at least I'm interested in watching stuff like this. Thank you guys for watching though, and I will see you guys when I see you. Peace.